Call the meeting to order. Those willing and able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, everybody mic'd up and ready? Okay, can I have a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of 3.2, resolution declaring a school board vacancy by illness or prolonged absence?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor to approve the agenda as presented with the addition of the resolution declaring a school board vacancy by illness or prolonged absence signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion passes. Move on to number 4, public forum.
None.
None? Okay. Move on to number 5.1, Natalie Reich, FFA. Is the mic on?
Yep, it looks like it's on. Okay, I am the FFA advisor, for those of you that have not met me before. My NEAT evaluation team earned a trip at the state convention last year as a second place finish, which is really good because they were 4 8th graders and then 1 9th grader, so that was pretty exciting. They did a really good job, and because of that, they earned a trip to the Western National Roundup, which is held over at Colorado State University for the first week in January. They received a $625 scholarship to go, which covers 50% of their registration cost. Since it is an earned trip, I am asking the school board if you guys would cover transportation and hotel rooms, which I believe amounts to approximately $1,600. FFA will cover the rest of the registration fee and any other expenses that the team incurs. Phil Berg will be taking them. He has been the NEAT coach here for numerous years and does a fantastic job with the kids. So they have been studying with him quite a bit since the summer and continued on to do well on this trip. So I'm asking for the money and then also for approval for the overnight trip for my students to go. And I'll be bringing 4 students, 3 9th graders and 10th grader, and very academically strong, so even though it's the end of the semester, they will have no problems making up any work that they are missing.
Okay. Are there any questions for Natalie?
Does any of this money include, like, any money to pay Phil for his time?
Yes, he gets a stipend at the end of the year if the officer team, the chapter approves that for our volunteer coaches. If not, they receive a plaque and an award recognition at our annual banquet.
Sure.
And you have meals figured in?
Yep, FFA will pay for those
Okay.
for the kids, yep.
Okay. Any other questions? Questions? Hearing none, then I'd like to have a motion presented and to have the district cover the expenses as outlined by Natalie and FFA assuming the other expenses.
Will part of the transportation, will you be taking our Suburban?
Yes, so take a school van,
City
yep,
gas, and
yep.
so moved.
Second.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor of approval of the overnight trip for the FFA meets team to go to Colorado and the school taking care of the certain expenses and the FFA covering the other ones signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion passes.
Awesome, thank you.
Congratulations, good luck. Move on to 5.2, approval of audit report and journal entries. Turn it over to Mr. Talbert.
Yes, okay. Has everybody got either a hard copy or electronic version? If not, we can get one to you, got some extras. Okay. All right, so I want to start my presentation on pages 3, 4, 5, and 6. And what we have on pages 3, 4, 5, and 6 is our independent auditor's report, where we render our opinion regarding the financial statements of the district as of and for the year ended June 30th, 2022. It is a clean opinion, unqualified opinion, which is exactly what you're shooting for. It's the highest opinion we can render on the financial statements. And as I've said in other presentations, if it was something other than that, I would have been talking to you guys well before this evening. So, kind of crazy, when I first started doing this in 1983, this was a 2-page report. Now it's just about 4 going into 4. So, but it's a clean opinion. That's what you're shooting for. And with that said, I want to move to the financial data. We've got a just under 100-page or 102-page document here, so I'm going to kind of hit the highlights of what I would want to see if I was a board member. So starting on page 73 and continuing to page 77 is the general fund only. This is the format. Budget is the first column, second column over is the actual, third column to the right is the variance with the budget, and the far right-hand column is the prior year actual. I'm going to hit totals here unless I think there's something that I should bring to your attention. Very bottom of page 73, this is the revenue section of the general fund. Total revenues were budgeted at $14,897,069. Actual revenues came in at $15,567,321. Looking at the budget variance, we're better than budget by $670,252. The two primary areas for that are about the middle of the page. You'll see a general education aid. We were over in our general education projections by $408,000. Special education, 2 down from that, came in better than budget by $122,000. And then the total federal revenues, just about 2/3 of the way down the page, was $283,000 better than budget. Those items make up the primary portion of that budget variance. Again, general ed came in higher. I generally, with general education aid, I always check it out on the MDE website just to make sure that the numbers that Jackie and I put together for year end were relatively accurate. And actually, the general education that was on the last printout at the state level actually has the general ed computation a little bit higher than what we booked at what was it, October that we used? Yeah. So that's always good when we're better than what we had originally booked. So any general fund revenue questions I can answer if anybody. It's pretty straightforward at that point. Okay, then we go to, starting on page 74, we've got the expenditures. The district and school administration is the broad category at the top. Very first category in expenditures is administration. Again, I'm just going to hit totals here. Budgeted was $948,840. Actual was $940,162. So we did better than budget by $8,678. Just below that, we've got district support services. Budgeted was $359,107. Actual was $367,847. So we were over budget in the district support by just about the same thing. We were better than budget above with the administration, $87,040. Then we've got regular instruction starting in the middle of page 74, and that'll continue on to about the middle of page 75. First category in regular instruction is district-wide. That was budgeted at $593,516. Actual came in at $596,169. So the district was over budget by $2,653. Just below that, the last category on page 74 is elementary. $2,721,929 was budgeted. Actual was $2,814,955. So the district was over budget in that category by $93,026. Top of the next page, middle school. Budgeted was $1,207,377. Actual was $1,202,783. So we were better than budget or under budget by $4,594. Then the very last category, about the middle of the page, total secondary was budgeted at $2,694,703, and actual was $2,702,304. So we were over budget by $7,601. Taking all of those categories, starting with about the middle of page 74 and bringing them forward to a total regular instruction, was budgeted at $217,525. Actual was $7,316,211. So we were over budget by $98,686, which when you factor it out is only about 1.4% of the total budget. So that's really pretty close. On $7 million to be within a little under $100,000, that's really very close in my opinion. like I said, it's 1.4% of the overall budgeted expenditures, and to get within budget to that much, I think that's very good. Just below that, we've got vocational instruction. Budgeted was $391,131. Actual was $379,895. So we're under budget by $11,236. Top of the next page, exceptional instruction. Budgeted was $1,984,266, and the actual was $1,931,166. So we're under budget by $53,100 in exceptional instruction. Middle of page 76, we've got instructional support services, budgeted at $801,618. Actually came in at $707,269, so we're under budget by $94,349. And then pupil support services, which is transportation for the most part, $1,586,143 was budgeted, $1,517,824 was the actual. So we were over budget by under budget by $68,319. And then the top of the next page, we've got site buildings and equipment. This is basically maintenance and upkeep of the actual physical facilities. $2,206,974 was budgeted. Actual was $2,036,172. So we were under budget by $170,802. And then the last expenditure category is property insurance. Budgeted was $108,976, and the actual was $108,677. So we were under budget by $299,000. So taking all the expenditure categories from the previous pages and rolling them together in a total, about the middle of page 77, total budgeted expenditures were $15,604,580. Actual expenditures came in at $15,305,223. So the district did better than budget by just about $300,000, or $299,357. When we subtract those expenditures of $15,305,223 from the revenue on the first page of $1,567,321, we have the general fund going forward by $262,098. And below that, then, we've got two other financing sources. We've got some insurance recovery of $46,140, and then sale of property, $436,050. That's the sale of the Hill and Brown properties. And that money has been reserved in the capital outlay revenue fund balance category. So we've got total other financing sources of $482,190. When we combine that with the $262,098 above, the general fund had an increase of $744,288 for FY22. Now, that means then at the end of the year, the general fund ends the year with a fund balance of $7,366,090. And if I can get you to just stick your finger in that page just to kind of save it, of that fund balance of $7,366,090, there is certain restrictions on some of that, and I just want to kind of run through those with you, starting on page 41 if you can. Of that $7,366,090, on the very bottom of page 41, $145,594 is set aside for non-spendable fund balance. That's basically items that are prepaid at June 30th, 22, that'll be recognized in the 22-23 fiscal year as expenditures. And then at the top of page 42, restricted fund balance, and there's a heading there that says general fund. Of that fund balance of $7,366,090 that we have on page 77, $1,384,851 is reserved for those various fund balance categories. Operating capital, $445,099. I believe that's where the sale of the Hill and Brown money is, Jackie, if I'm remembering right? Yep, the sale of the property. So that money is set aside and will stay in that restricted fund balance category. Then down to the very bottom of the page, severance, general fund has a committed fund balance of $65,656 for severance pay. And then at the top of page 43, we have got general fund assigned fund balances for those four various spending categories of $18,950. And then now down to the very end, middle of about the one-third of the way down the page, general fund, $5,751,039 is the unassigned fund balance. That's the fund balance that's available for basically any spending purpose within the district. So then if we can go back to page 77, just a couple of notes I want to touch on here with the general fund. The district has a policy of trying to maintain a minimum fund balance of between 25 and 34% of an average year's expenditures. Well, we got, the average year's expenditures for the 3-year period is kind of skewed because of spending COVID funds. So I use 3-year average. A 3-year average expenditures is $14,223,000. If we use that fund balance minimum percentage, the district has an unassigned fund balance of about 40.4% of, an unassigned fund balance of 40.4% of a 3-year average expenditure. So you're about 6 to, depending on if you use the 25 or the 34, you're about 6 to 10% over the minimum fund balance requirement that you've established. So last year that percentage was 37.9, so actually we improved it by about 3%. So like I said, that unassigned fund balance is available for basically any spending purpose within the district. So that was the general fund. Any questions anybody's got on the general fund? Okay? If not, then the next fund we're going to deal with is food service, starting on page 80. Same format on this one. We've got first column is the budget, second column is the actual, third column is the variance, and the far right-hand side is the prior year actual. So middle of the page, we budgeted for $1,370,021 in revenues. Revenues actually came in at $1,169,13, so we were less than budget by $209,108. But we'll make up that difference below in the expenditures, about 2/3 of the way down. Expenditures were budgeted at $1,448,409. Actual was $1,103,367. So as we're under budget on the revenue above, we're under budget as well on the expenditures by $345,042. When we subtract the expenditures from the $1,160,000 revenue above, still leaves the food service fund with going forward by $57,546. That fund ends the year with a fund balance of $663,299, and those funds are all restricted basically for food service purposes. All of my school districts, if anything good came out of COVID, it was the fact that their food service funds healed up. So that's, food service here in Pipestone is in great shape. Then on page 81, we've got your community service fund. Again, same format, budget, actual, variance, and prior year actual. Middle of the page, total revenues were budgeted at $446,409. Actual was $453,682, so we did better than budget by $7,573. Expenditures at the bottom of the page were budgeted at $413,472. Actual came in at $427,329. So we actually were over budget in expenditures by $13,857. When we subtract the expenses from the revenue of $453,682 above, we still have the community service fund going forward by $26,353. And likewise, if you can stick a finger or something in that page and go back to page 42, of that fund balance of $490,162 at the end of the year, if you see the heading Community Service Fund, and then it says Community Ed, Early Childhood, those are the 4 spending categories within the Community Ed, which total up to $490,162. So those funds are reserved for Community Ed, ECFE, Learning Readiness is actually a deficit, and then just the overall restricted Community Service Fund, which totals up to $490,162. So basically, all of those community service funds are restricted for those 4 spending categories, and that totals the fund balance on page 81. Any food service or community service I can answer for
No,
anybody?
the food service, that can also be used for equipment, right?
Within
no,
food service?
just-
It depends on what the equipment is.
It would just about, I would almost run it by the Minnesota Department of Ed before I spend it.
Okay.
Yeah, they're real funky about that.
You can't use it for cafeteria tables.
Oh, okay. But like kitchens, that you can't use it for like in the kitchen?
Yes, we
Yep,
can.
yep, I think hard assets within the cooking facility,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Okay.
The reason that the food services, we were on the free meals.
Yeah.
Right.
And the reimbursement costs is greater than what they normally are, so yet all of our costs were based on the previous, so that's why you're seeing
Yeah,
Such a,
the
yeah.
fund balances in food services go up, because they were giving us more money.
yes.
They were funding us on the summer revenue program rather than just the regular, so
I
now
had-
we're back to normal.
I've had districts have to transfer every 2 years. If you're 2 years in the negative, you have to make a transfer from general to prop it up, and I've had districts have to do that for years, and then finally they got a few years to live on now.
And we've been using $400,000, I mean, we put in the kitchen, we put in a whole bunch of equipment, and we're still, I don't know what to do anymore. I mean, we're kind of like, we got a brand-new kitchen.
Yeah, and that could.
So I'm not
that's
sure what we're gonna-
on the financials, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll try to find some creative ways to,
But it is nice not to have to battle the food service.
it is.
Because traditionally, it does not always end up that way, and then you've got to make a general fund transfer, so it's, if nothing else, on my smaller schools, it's bought them some time. Okay, then the next, I guess we've got two more funds here. Page 83, we've got the capital projects fund. This would be the building project. The capital projects funds are temporary in nature. They exist just to handle generally a building project. I would assume this will be closed out by the end of FY
Closed out right
'22.
now.
Maybe it is now, okay. Yep, this one looks kind of funny on paper because all of the revenue has come in prior years. Total revenues actually were negative 9253 with the investments and the interest earned on the monies, and then we've got expenditures of $3,870,10. So we actually have a deficit of $3,879,263. But all of the revenues, bonds, and that type of thing have come in the previous year, and this is just the spending down of those. End of the year fund balance was $312,890, and according to Jackie, that has all been spent through, and that will be closed out then in your FY23 statements. And then on page 85, we've got the last fund of the district. This is the debt service fund. This fund exists strictly to pay receipt-in property taxes and state aids, and to pay principal and interest on the bonds. Overall revenue was budgeted at $1,837,468, and the revenue came in at $1,834,742. So we were under budget by $2,726. Then the expenditures, principal and interest, budgeted at $1,834,600. Actual is in $1,834,600. Those are scheduled payments, so we got that spot on. When we subtract the expense from the revenue above, we have a positive $142. That ends the year with a fund balance of $394,166. And the state will make adjustments to that as the maturity dates of the bonds come together. They will adjust your levy, and in theory, that fund should just end up at zero in the last year. So the district has two outstanding bond issues. The building bonds at June 30th had a balance of $24,165,000. Those will be paid off in 2040, and then the capital lease, $503,000, and that will be paid off in 2028, which is kind of coming around the bend as well. Any debt service expenditures I can or fund questions I can answer.
That other debt was the tennis courts?
Yes, tennis courts, yeah, I call it the capital lease, but the tennis courts, yep. Okay, I've got just a couple other things to touch on quick. Page 87, and I bring this to your attention just to kind of reinforce the COVID situation. This is a schedule that goes to the federal government. We submit your report through what's called the Federal Audit Clearinghouse, Single Audit Clearinghouse. And this is basically all of the federal funds that the district received in 2022. $2,800,402. And you go back to 2020, which would basically be pre-COVID, which would been more of a typical year, and that number typically ran just a little over $1 million. So that's the impact that has had on our local school districts. So again, it's been quite a shot in the arm at a time when they needed it. So just wanted to touch base with that. Then on page 89, 90, and 91, we have one more independent auditor's report. This is in regard to compliance and the internal control in relation to government auditing standards. When we come in and do the audit, we look at the internal control of the district, and then we also look at your compliance with two publications, one called the Minnesota Legal Compliance Audit Guide for School Districts, and the other one just the overall general government auditing standards. And we have no findings. I'm happy to report there's no findings in regard to compliance with government auditing standards or the Minnesota Legal Compliance Audit Guide. We do have two weaknesses in the internal control, which we'll discuss here in just a second. at the end of the report. And then on page 92, 93, and 94, we have one more independent auditor's report. And this is a report in regard to your compliance and internal control as it relates to the federally funded programs. Once you spend over $750,000 in federal funds, you're required to have an audit performed in accordance with the Uniform Guidance, which is a publication put out by the Office of Management and Budget. And I'm happy to report we have no instances of non-compliance or any internal control comments regarding your federally funded programs, particularly the major federal programs, which would be your food service and your education ESSER money that you got, educational stabilization cluster money that you got from the state of Minnesota flow through. So then, on page 96, I have those two findings that we've got. And it is 2022-01, and then the middle of page 97, 222-02. 2022-01 on page 96 is internal accounting controls. This is how transactions move through the district, approvals and those types of things. And we just don't have a large accounting department, so we don't have an adequate segregation of duties. We have this in virtually every audit that our firm does, with the exception of the city of Pipestone. We just don't have enough people in the accounting function. We just recently completed our peer review, which is every 3 years we have a firm come in and look at our auditing processes and making sure we're doing our audits in accordance with professional standards. And I asked the peer reviewer about this comment, because again, this is in virtually all of the audits that we do, and if we're setting the bar too high, or if we're where we should be. And he said, no, with what you're dealing with, the size of the entities you're dealing with, he said that is a requirement. So it's no reflection on the work being done at the office, it's just we don't have enough people to segregate the duties out to more than one person dealing with the transactions. So I always say that you guys as the board are part of the mitigating factors in that. When you're approving the bills or asking questions or looking at reports and things like that that are presented to you, ask questions if you got questions, and continue to ask the question until you get an answer you're happy with it, that satisfies your inquiry. So you're part of the mitigating circumstances. And then 2022-002 in the middle of page 97, GAAP financial statements. Our responsibility as auditors is to deal with those first 4 pages that we did in the financial statements, basically render an opinion on them. Again, with the exception of the city of Pipestone, we also, for all of our clients, we prepare the document that we're looking at tonight, making sure that it's adequately prepared with the appropriate disclosures. The format is proper is in regard to general accepted audit accounting principles and also government auditing standards. Again, I asked our peer reviewer, are we setting the bar too high for that? And he said no. He said, if you're preparing the financial statements, then you must have that statement in there. Again, no reflection on the work that's being done here at the school. It's not something that you send somebody to a half-a-day class, and Jackie can attest to this, that there's a lot to putting the report together. It's not something that you can overcome as a district without almost literally hiring at least one more full-time individual. And that would have to be a full-time individual that has experience in preparing the financial statements. So again, no reflection on the district. We're required to report it, and it's just not possible to change that situation. That is the audit report. Everyone should have 2 loose letters in the back of the report, hopefully, if we did our job right. I'm going to touch on the one that says communication with those charged with governance, conclusion of the audit. Significant audit findings, qualitative aspects of accounting practices. It's coming to the top of the next page, page 2. Accounting estimates. I'm required to bring to your attention any items in the financial statements that are estimates, or what I consider to be significant estimates. And those 2 items would be the computation of the general education aid, because that seems to be a moving target till the spring of the following year, and special education aid. Like I mentioned earlier, with the general education aid, their computation as it currently sits at the 17th of November, we booked a number that is less than what it appears like you're going to receive, so we're conservative there. And special ed, we're very close with that. So I feel that our estimates are adequate, and actually probably just a little bit under, but I am required to bring those to your attention. Difficulties encountered in performing the audit. We had no significant difficulties in preparing the audit. Corrected and uncorrected misstatements. This one always throws me for a loop, because if there was a uncorrected misstatement, I don't know why I wouldn't go in and correct it. To my knowledge, there are no uncorrected misstatements. Disagreements with management, we've had no disagreements with management during the course of preparing our audit report and work. Top of page 3, consultations with other independent accountants, if either the district or our firm thought it necessary to maybe get a second opinion, maybe on the application of an accounting principle or something in regard to the audit. We would discuss that here. There's been no such consultations. Middle of the page, other matters. There are schedules in the report that are prepared by basically PERA and TRA regarding the district's liability and participation with those programs. We just include those because they come to us basically canned from PERA and TRA, and we're required to report them that they are included in your required supplementary information. And that pretty much takes care of the governance letter, and the last letter should say management letter at the top. And what we have behind this management letter are the adjusting journal entries as of June 30th, 2022. And I would say probably half of these were prepared by Jackie. She just did them after we came in and kind of cut off the numbers. There was a period probably 8-9 years ago when this was about a 7 or 8 page thing. So Jackie has taken on the computation of the state aids, the federal aids, and the property taxes, which were significant audit adjustments that we did. She is now preparing those in-house, which is great. So it'll actually eliminates another comment in the report by her doing that. And these are all basically normal recurring year-end adjustments. And these have been posted to the Smart Finance system, and the Smart Finance agrees with the audit report, so we're all ticked, tied, and traced. And like I said, I say in the past, if there's something in here, you're looking at it at a later date, and you got a question on something, don't hesitate to call. There's a lot of stuff that rolls into this 100-page document, a lot of stuff. So if something doesn't look right, or you wonder what's in a number, or what combinations, because we have to combine numbers in order to make it a readable document, there are several accounts that get combined to come up with the numbers. So if it's something that we have a question on for whatever reason, do not hesitate to give me a call.
Okay.
Okay?
Any questions for Mr. Talbert?
I got one question.
Yes.
How does our 40.4% fund balance compare to some of the other districts you see in our region?
You're good, and actually in the last 3 or 4 for our districts, I hate to even say the words that COVID school district-wide, revenue-wise, has been good. I'd say you're in probably the middle. I've got a couple that are really high fund balances. I mean, really high for whatever reason. They just have been able to accumulate. One of them is just they came from statutory operating debt, which is the bad situation, the negative fund balance, and they can't quite release the purse strings coming forward. They're starting to, but they're just having come from that situation. They're very, very conservative, and as an accountant, I can't disagree with that. But I'd say you're probably we do 8 or 9 districts, and I would say you're probably in the top 60%, 60 to 70%. Yeah. Yep. And again, that fund balance I think is a tricky number, because your job is not here to create fund balance.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like a for-profit business where you're trying to satisfy the shareholders. You try to provide the education, good education, and still stay within your budget constraints, but it's nice to have some money to operate with. Because that kind of looked like what COVID might have done to us, is have us dip into some of that rainy day funds, and thank goodness some of it was provided, so that didn't happen, but, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Well, and it's taken this district a long time to get here.
Well, yes, by all means, it hasn't been leaps and, I mean, it's been a
I can
process.
remember the early 2000s where we were cutting positions because
Yep.
we were
Yeah,
financially troubled.
yeah, and the future didn't look good.
No.
You had to be proactive and to do that, because so much of the aids and the property tax levies are a year delayed from what you're budgeting on, so,
Yep.
yeah.
And then I can remember when the state didn't pay the state aids,
The tax shift.
they would move them from here to there, and you had to recognize them, but you didn't get them until...
You didn't get the money, the cash flow was
Right.
terrible. Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, we are high, a little bit
That's
above
it,
what
we're-
we should probably be, but if you've been in the other position, you're gonna wish you were where you're at.
And that's where that district I'm talking about is, they've not been through the depression, and they're just not real reluctant to go yet. They're walking before they're running.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else for Mr. Talbert? Anything?
Okay, I'll get out of your hair, thank you. Again,
Okay.
don't hesitate to give me a call if you got a question.
Okay. Then, I will need two separate motions. One to approve the audit report and one to approve the journal entries.
I move to approve the audit report.
Second.
Okay? Can we vote on them together, Deb, or do you want them voted on separate?
I'd assume that would be separate.
I suppose two separate motions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Two separate motions.
Okay. So is there any further questions about the audit report? Any further questions? Hearing none. All those in favor of approval of the audit report as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion passes. Then I need a motion to approve the journal entries.
I'll move to approve the journal entries.
Second.
Amy did. Okay. Is there any further discussion on the journal entries? Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approval of the journal entries as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you, Matt.
And I,
Move on to 5.3, Truth and Taxation.
All right, here we go. My favorite part of this, truth and taxation. I'll keep it short, though. I cut 38 slides out of this, so I've got it down to 19, so I'm feeling pretty good about that.
Wasn't it like 25 last year?
It might have been, I cut it down a little bit, I'm getting better, I'm being more efficient, so. This is a public hearing, and basically, why we have the truth and taxation, it started in 1989. Our tax statements are sent out in the fall, showing proposed tax increases. We then wait until now, when we have a public hearing, showing what we are going to be levying for next year, payable next year. This is open time, so if there are questions from the public, you may ask them and speak. This is not board, we used to have a separate, but they now allow us to do this during the regular meeting, so there is dialogue. If anybody has any questions or wants to know anything, we can take time to answer those, so. Jackie, you're not getting in on my show today.
I don't want to get in on your show.
So who sets the school levy? Basically, there's a number of things that are set by the state legislature, and they do give the school board some authority to make some levies. And then the other is the voter-approved process, where we go to the voters. Those are like your operating levies and also your building bonds and those types of things. So those are where the authority comes to do the school levies. How is your property tax determined? This is, again, goes back to the legislature. They set formulas. Your county assessor determines the market values of your property. County auditors do their calculations and send out those your tax bills, and they show you where that's at. So all of that gets done at the county level. We do send in our levy authority to the county, and they put it all in, because there's state, county, city, school district, townships can have too. So everybody has it, but the county is where all of that gets taken care of. We also have to show our budget for this year. Right now, our general fund budget shows $14.6 million in revenues and expenses of $15.6 million. Food service, which is $1 million deficit where our budget is at right now. Food service is to the positive. We have revenues that's estimated at $923,000 and expenses at $882. Community education, budgeted revenues are $447,000 and expenses of $406,000. Our general debt service, this is our bonds that we're paying on. It shows a little bit of a deficit there, but we do are required to carry a fund balance in that area, so we have that. So we're planning to have revenues a little bit less than what our expenses are, and that's just to bring that debt service fund balance down into order. And then our building construction, you can see there, at the time we put this together, and even for the audit report, you saw a balance of $312,000, but as you'll see later in the meeting, that has been zeroed out. Some of our bills came in, and so we are pretty much going to be closing out the building construction fund, so that'll be gone there. So property classifications, this is what your tax bill looks like. You will see what your market value is. You've got homestead exclusions, we've got what your proposed taxes are, and also, I'll get to it a little bit later, but this is where the ag to school tax credit also comes. You should have gotten something in the fall. The spring is when they do the valuations with the county. I think you have an opportunity to appeal and bring that to the county assessor or county auditor. And so be watching out for your 2023 statement and where your taxes are going. These are the tax rates on property, the farmland, seasonal rec, homestead, apartments, public utilities, and commercial industrial. These are the tax rates that are set by the state. We do not do that as a school district, but people do pay their share of taxes based on what we're levying. The Ag to School tax credit was enacted in 2017, and this goes on for things like our elementary school, that which taxes all property in the district. So the Ag to School is a tax credit for farmland, homestead property, and for timber owners and those types of things. It is scheduled to get to 70%. The revenue for this comes from the state, which collects it from incomes, sales, and other tax revenues. This one shows where we were at. It originally was at 40%. It then went to 50 and 55% in 2021. This year we're at 60%, and next year it's slated to go to 70% ag to school tax credit. So ag property that qualifies will be getting a 70% tax credit on the school taxes. I think I've mentioned that the ag to school tax credit and our bond on our elementary actually pays 51%. So state aid will pay for about half of our elementary school. The taxpayers of the district pay the other 49%. So, and there was talk last year in the legislature of upping the ag to school tax credit to 85%, but we're not going to. But they are looking at increasing it even further. So there has been talk. I don't know what will happen this year, but they couldn't get it done last spring. They didn't agree on anything. So on your tax statement where you see that arrow, agricultural market value credit and other credits, it doesn't say ag to school tax credit. It says that, and that's where if you do have land that qualifies, you will see what the dollar amount of that tax credit is. So you do not pay that tax. The state will do that, and we get those payments from the state. This shows a little bit about ag to school, and you'll see Pipestone down here in the corner, and we are the dark red. We are in the largest quartile of ag to school tax credit. This is anything over $353,000 a year. Our ag to school tax credit dollar amount is about $900,000. So we get pretty good help from the state through our ag to school tax credit. The other one that we have voter approval on is our operating levy and our operating referendum. That has been broken apart into two. Now there is local optional revenue, which is they've given the school district, the board, the authority to do $724 is the local optional. The voter approved for our district is now $474 per pupil. So that's the voter approved portion. And you can see that the median district, or about the average, is about $492. So We're just, as you can see, where we compare, again, we're down here in this corner, we're yellow, which is, we're a little bit below the median or the average in the state on our operating levy. Our operating levy has been in place for about 15 years now. We've renewed it once. It's been renewed for 10 years. I believe it needs to be visited again in 2027, 2028, somewhere in there. So at the time when that was passed, it was well above the state average. So as time goes on, it's kind of fallen a little bit below what the average is. Here's the dollar amounts and shows there is equalization for our operating levy also. So on the local optional, which is the $724, about $460,000 is local taxpayer pay this, and the state aid is about $370,000. And then on the voter approved, the taxpayers pay about $340,000, and the state aid on that is $218,000. So our total operating levy contributes about $1.4 million per year to our general fund, and $800,000 of that is taxpayers, local taxpayers, and $600,000 is state aid. So, and we maximize, as you can see, there's no, the voter, the tier 2, which doesn't get any equalization, so we about maximize our operating levy to equalization. So they do talk about changing and increasing the tier 2 equalization, but until they do that, we don't get any further on this. So if we were to raise our operating levy, we would not get any state aid as the current formula exists. And I also need to say that on the bottom here, ag property is not taxed for operating levies. That is the house in 1 acre, so it is not like the bond that we do for an elementary school. So there is a difference between the bond levy and the operating levies. They do have different tax portions. Other factors affecting our levy, change in classification, change in value of your property might be why taxes go up. Change in enrollment, change in valuation of the property of the district, other local decisions, if we were to ask voters for, we were to increase for specific projects, that could be where things are at. If bonds or things come off the rolls, that could also affect your tax, school tax levy. And then also legislative changes. So for 2023 pay, our levy, we are looking at $1,620,627.78 for the general fund levy, which is an increase of about $42,000. Our community ed levy is $112,050.21, which is about $720 more than last year. Our general debt service is $1,830,291.67, which is about $12,000 more than last year. So overall, our total levy proposed for 2023 is $3,562,969.66, which is a 1.5% increase. We did not raise. This comes from most likely property valuations, and there'll be just the taxpayers will pay a little bit more than what they did last year for the school portion. Any questions? For more information, your county auditor is Amanda Sandy. That's her phone number. And if you have any other questions, my contact information is there. And of course, if you need property tax relief, the state of Minnesota has a 1-800 number for you to contact them on that.
I'm sure that's very helpful.
Yep, I'm sure they'd be more than happy to help you out with your tax relief issues.
Yes, I'm sure.
So, I don't know if anybody has any questions or anything, but that is our truth in taxation.
Yep,
Shorter and shorter.
very good.
Yep.
All right.
Okay. And we need no motion on,
Not till later.
okay. Move on to number 6, consent agenda. Are there any questions on the consent agenda? Any questions on the consent agenda? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Did you get them, Deb? Okay. All those in favor to approve the consent agenda as presented signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion passes. Okay, we'll move on to number 7, the financials. 7.1, review elementary building budget year-to-date. Jackie?
Okay, this will be the final one. It is closed out now. You'll see down the bottom, basically what I did is I moved more of the rubberized material for the playground, moved that into the building fund so I could get this closed out. So it's zeroed out.
Okay. Any questions for Jackie? Okay. Move on to 7.1.1, approve the treasurer's report for the elementary building bond.
This still has a balance of $92,724 because more money was moved out. Business is done at the end of November and this is in December, so
Okay.
this will be zero.
So we won't have that anymore either?
No, we'll probably have this again next month because there's still going to be five days of interest after I close out the bonds that I'll have to show here and reconcile to the statement, so.
Okay. Any questions for Jackie? Any questions? Can I have a motion to approve the treasurer's report for the elementary building bond?
So moved. Second.
Sorry.
Whatever, you want to do.
Okay. We have a first and a second. All those in favor to approve the treasurer's report for the elementary building bond signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion passes. 7.2, review of budget year-to-date.
And this is a budget year-to-date as of December 12th, and we were at 36%, and last year at this time, we were at 41%. I'm hoping to have the budget amended by the January board meeting, because I know there's a lot of changes, so.
Okay.
And what were the changes?
Changes that were made at the June school board meeting that, after I presented the budget.
Like the ESSER?
Like COVID and like playground, I think there's some, yeah,
So,
yeah.
Okay.
And I just go back, review all the salaries and like, I don't think the paraprofessional secretaries, those weren't settled yet, so that was an
Nope.
estimate in there. So just a lot of changes like that I can, narrow down more now that I have more
and
information.
the board actually has to approve the budget amendment, so
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. I just hope to have it.
she'll bring a recommendation.
I hope to have her, I know I don't speak correctly. I hope to have her prepared so that the board can either approve it or disapprove it. There we go. Is that better?
Perfect.
Okay. Any questions? Any questions? That's a non-action item. Move on to 7.3, approve the treasurer's report for November.
Okay, current cash balance is $8 million. That's, I basically do this just for the bank reconciliations, make sure everything ties out.
Yep.
I'll move to approve the treasurer's report for November.
Do I have a second?
So moved.
Okay. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approval of the treasurer's report for November signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion passes. 7.4, approve regular bills for December. Are there any questions on the regular bills? Any questions? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve the regular bills for December?
So moved.
Second.
We have our first and second. All those in favor to approve the regular bills for December signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion passes. 7.5, approve high school activity bills for December. Are there any questions on the high school activity bills? Any questions? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the high school activity bills for December?
So moved.
Second.
Katie and Chrissy. All those in favor to approve the high school activity bills for December signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion passes. Move on to number 8, board forum and information. 8.1, board reports and updates. Anybody have stuff from the board?
I just got, I don't know if everyone else got the letter from Mr. Poyer, or Dr. Poyer, excuse me, about the lighting in the auditorium, but I would like that added to the, I don't know if it needs to be, to me, it's a long-term maintenance, it's a maintenance type thing versus something to be used for the general, or for the extra money that we were talking about. So I think it should be, at least with the maintenance committee, maybe put on that list. Because I do think a lot of kids would be, I mean, it's used for classes, it's used for programs, it's used for a lot of different things. And if we can no longer get the bulbs to replace them when they're burnt out, I feel like that's a big problem. And we want to do it sooner than
I
later.
know it's been brought up before.
It's
on-
been in
on the
discussion.
maintenance.
Right.
I think it's on the list for LTFM. I think it
Okay.
has been.
It was
And-
discussed last year
No.
Okay.
while we were in.
I remember
the-
talking about it a little bit.
Yeah.
I just couldn't remember what the.
So it's on our radar
Perfect.
to address.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Actually, I have a
then-
quote on my desk.
Awesome.
But more so for LTFM funds, right? Is that what you're saying is?
Either
allotted?
that or capital. It's lighting equipment and needs an upgrade, so.
Yep.
Question is, can we do it all in 1 year or do it in 2 years? Where are we gonna do it?
Just, yeah, perfect. And then the other one was he had asked about the marching band practice field. Just, I mean, I don't see any problem with using that extra activity area down at the end for that purpose.
Which would be fine going forward.
Right.
We just couldn't do it up until
Right.
now with the construction going on.
Mhm.
But yeah, it makes perfect sense to do it out there and
Yep.
instead of carting everything all
Right.
over the place.
All the way over to the football field.
Yeah. It may require, some maintenance from the department to put in, if they're used to marching with lines and
Oh, right.
like football lines, the 10-yard lines and stuff.
Might be nice
Maybe
to
a little bit
overseed it
more.
too with some grass or kind of, I don't
Yeah.
know. It's kind of, it might be kind of hard and muddy for a while, so it might be good to get some grass in.
Yep.
Right.
But yeah, I think we all got the same letter. I was finally able to respond to you this afternoon, Zach, before I came to the meeting, so.
Am I allowed to speak?
I don't have a problem.
I don't have a problem.
Yeah,
No
I don't have a problem.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Zach.
Oh, okay. So first, thank you, you all got the same letter. It's just a matter of when we're practicing in the Paulson Field parking lot, if there's an event going on in the Paulson Field, they use that for parking, meaning that we don't have during the school year a place to practice dedicated, so that it's kind of an issue. Whether it ends up being we use the permanent Paulson Field if that gets upgraded, or whether we have our own over there by the new baseball fields, there just needs to be some kind of a solution on going forward.
Yep. Yep.
Even as I think about it, and I don't know if it'd be big enough, but that, the outfield of the high school baseball field, especially in the fall, that baseball field drains extremely well. If we were to get rain, it's already established grass. It's not that far, just across the street, but I don't know if the space would be big enough, but
Yeah, it's a nice field.
But that's probably the best field we have as far as if we were to get rain and for it to dry out and currently.
Well, and I think when we had our initial discussions, this area back here, the plan is
Multi-use.
multi-purpose
Yeah.
and,
Flexible.
Like a soccer field
yep,
or
everybody
kickball
could
or-
use it.
Yeah.
So. Okay.
Find something.
So would you need lines on it, or you don't need lines? You just need grass space?
We would need.
You would need lines, okay,
They currently do that on the parking lot, the same
Okay.
way they do the football field.
gotcha.
Takes them a while.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's just something you need to visit with the staff and, you know, and a lot of this is still follow, you know, chain of commands. The board is always welcoming letters from, or a contact from anybody. And the board will always tell you, okay, have you done this and this and this? And it's just, that's protocol to follow the chain of commands. But it's nice the board does hear, because otherwise we don't hear. We don't hear much of that kind of stuff, so. I know you're doing a great job.
Yes.
My Sophie's enjoying band. She's loving it, so. But, okay, anything else to address to Zach? Okay? Okay. I guess one report I would like to say is, you know, we've all seen the letter from Lance. Wish him the best and speedy recovery, but he's looking out for what's best for our district in doing this. And he's had some ideas and about whom he would like to see, and when I talked to him, he questioned whether it was possible, and I says, well, there are procedures and protocols in place to handle this, so that's kind of how that ended up where it is right now. So I guess that's all I've got. Anybody else have anything?
Finance committee met, we reviewed the audit results and then just kind of discussed the forecast or outlook for the upcoming budget process, and things look good, so we'll probably be meeting again in March, I think, right? So, but yeah, it was a good meeting.
Okay.
I'd just add that, yeah, I mean, financially, we're in a good place, but there's a lot of that ESSER money, you know, but right now, the state forecast is positive, so they're talking about maybe higher increases in state funding. But as they are, I mean, I think we've been going in a good direction, but there's still a lot of concerns. And we do need to be keeping our eye on the ball with the budget, because we deal with big numbers. And so sometimes one decision or two decisions can have a big impact on the budget. So right now, we're okay. ESSER's helping us through this process. I do remind people that we are currently covering about 6 FTEs with ESSER money. And that isn't going to last forever. So while it looks really good, got to be careful.
Yep. Okay, well, that sounds like that's board reports. Move on to number 9, administrators' reports. 9.1, superintendent's board report and enrollment.
Enrollment, about the same. I think we're down about 4 this month, so, but still, we're in a pretty good place with our enrollment. Was up again this fall, so we're still above where we were at. As you are aware from last week, we had some weather. So it's enjoyable. We had 3 learning days and 1 Friday. We did not, just did a snow day, so that'll be a makeup. Question, there is, the state only allows for 5 e-learning days, so, but the state also requires 165 days. We have 174 student days. The hours that are required, about 1,020. We're at 1,100, so technically we could probably do more e-learning. We just can't submit them to the state as an attendance day, but we have above what we need, so I think we'll be having some conversations. I think that'll be a good conversation for maybe meet and confer next month to discuss with the teachers some thoughts on some of this and where people think we should be. I know administratively, I plan to speak with them kind of where we're at here. And then this week, we've got a
Cold.
weather, and we're getting ready to go into break, so, of course, it's Thursday, so I don't know what, not sure an e-learning day should be burned on Thursday, or if we just make up the party some other time.
Maybe they'll hold them earlier.
Yeah, maybe we'll
Maybe
just-
they're seeing what's coming and they're gonna do it
Yeah.
early, who knows?
I'm sure everybody is watching the weather, so knows what's going on, so we'll see what happens, so.
You know, I just always question too, like, so we have you miss a day in first semester, and a lot of those kids aren't in those classes second semester, so they're making up a class time that they already missed, like it's already done and over with, is what I look at, because like, you know,
Well,
they just missed that day.
There have been years where we have adjusted the end of the semester. It really doesn't impact elementary. It doesn't impact middle school as much.
Yep.
It's mostly a high school thing, and sometimes when you do lose some days like this first semester, and I know we set the work day to be the end of the term, but we may look at
May adjust
adjusting
that.
and saying, you know what, we've missed too much. Again, I kind of rely on Mr. Strasser to talk with his staff, and it really doesn't impact, it's mostly an impact in the high school, so sometimes we may make that adjustment. It isn't really a major calendar adjustment, it's just for, you know,
Yep.
where we're attending, and because the workday it's nice to have that at the end of the semester, but it maybe if it doesn't work out, that's where you got to kind of do a little give and take of,
Sure.
you know, do we need 4 more days onto the first semester? And if the staff and Mr. Strasser feel that's what we need to do, we can just kind of do it, and really nobody else, doesn't affect the others, so.
Yep.
But we'll kind of handle that here and see how things go. We do have a few weeks after we come back from break to see if there's something that needs to be adjusted there, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was the difference in days from what we do to what the state requires? Is it
The state
9?
requires 165 student days.
And we have 174?
Right.
Did I write that? Okay.
1,020 hours, and we have about 1,100. So we do have a little cushion there if we wanted to do some distance learning or snow learning or whatever we want to call it.
Did we used to have 10 days of e-learning available, or was it always been 5?
2018, they put in 5, and they've
Okay.
not changed that. So they've left it at 5. I've asked, but that's what it still says, 5. So, so we'll deal with it, figure it out. But there are some creative things that we may be able to look into doing to do that, so. Last month, I informed you that Minders Foundation, Bob Minders, had contacted and said, was concerned about the confusion of the name of the library and where that was at. The board basically said, we accepted a donation and we'll keep the name until you tell us otherwise. So he did ask for some information about the donation, when it was made, and so he's looking over some of that. And so haven't heard anything else back from him, so. But we did have one communication there with him, so. That's about what I got for this month.
Okay. Anything from anybody? Okay, then we'll move on to 9.2, Principals Board Report. Corey?
Good evening, everyone. Just a couple quick items. Obviously, we went through the e-learning days, and through doing them, I do feel like our staff is really well equipped, in large part because of what we've gone through the last 3 years. So I see the plans that they do and what they carry out, and I think they're doing a good job with that. The challenge is always student attendance and engagement on those days, especially when you get past 1 and get into the second and third. Makes it a tough challenge, but I know they're doing a lot this week to kind of bring that back and then ready to send off to the break. So that's there. You know, I've talked a lot about our Portrait of a Graduate this year, and one of the things that we're currently working on right now is surveying past graduates, specifically those within the last 5 years. So I've gotten a little bit of feedback already and hoping to get a little bit more, and then see what that feedback tells us. So that's kind of fun. I do want to give, just some props to our activities. You heard from Ms. Resch, it's pretty impressive anytime a group goes. And I don't know if you caught that, but that was 3 freshmen and a sophomore that are going to nationals. So that's really neat. We had a choir concert tonight during our meeting time, and we've had some band programs here recently. So just a wide variety of things going on in our district that when you look at the high school, middle and high school level, which are really awesome. One of the fun things, I know you don't get around to see the actual academic area, but it's really kind of fun. We do door contests this time of year. Seems like everybody does. It's a good thing to do. But we've got a little bit of competitive nature, so it's like it's taken up a notch this year. So if you kind of go down by our science area over to the ag area, they really want to win this year. And I can't even think of what the prizes are. But I mean, usually it's just like donuts or something like that. But they're tired of Mrs. Sullivan always winning. So I think there's a little bit of competitiveness. Would that be fair? Yes, yes. But just one of those little fun things that we try to do. And, if you happen to be down there, it's kind of interesting what the kids are coming up with. But that's really all I have. It's been an odd December, specifically the last week. So unless you have questions for me.
Any questions for Corey? Any questions?
My only observance was, just because I have daughters and I have a daughter that's in choir and in basketball, that there was a basketball away game tonight, there was gymnastics away, and so the choir was pretty dwindled down to not very many people. And they were all things that have been on this calendar since the beginning of the year, so I think we need to be more careful about scheduling that at the same time, because like all those girls had to make that decision where to go. And it is a required class. I mean, it is not a required class, but it is a class grade.
Right.
And that's part of their grade. So I think that that's something we should maybe, I understand there's tons of things that get scheduled, and I understand that, but I just think there's so much going on, we should probably look at doing that a little differently.
Yeah, you're right. It's very challenging, especially when you get some snow days and moving things around, but these were not regularly scheduled that way, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Jennifer?
Good evening. We started off with, obviously the e-learning. We'll just talk about that first. My staff did awesome. They rocked it. I had them provide me a plan well ahead of time, and I was in Seesaw and Google Classroom checking out what they're doing, so they did a really nice job with that. We had our PBIS quarter to half quarter party. The Elementary Booster Club sponsored that, so we had a hot chocolate bar. The kids enjoyed that. That was a fun time for them. We had our Alice Drill across the district, so Corey and I collaborated. We talked about that, and we went over the intercom with both buildings, and we did a soft lockdown or shelter in place, and then our hard lockdown, and we talked about that and did that with our students. I think that went really well. We had a terrific kid program. I love that the community comes in and celebrates our kids, so I think that's a wonderful program that we have. A little fun that we have going on, we have 12 days of Christmas, so 12 days of dressing up. The kids are really enjoying that. The Grinch was supposed to come last week, but because of the snow days, the Grinch is coming tomorrow. So he's going to make his rounds around the school tomorrow, and that'll be fun. We are doing a door decorating parade. So we started off as a contest, but we ended up doing a parade. So all the doors are decorated, so the teachers are going to bring students by and check out all of the fun decorated doors. So that's about all I have.
Okay. Any questions for Jennifer? Okay. Thank you. Melanie, your turn.
Thank you. Well, since it's only been 3 weeks since our last meeting, I don't have a ton to report. I did establish the specific 2023 MCA testing schedule and shared that with staff. It's just generally posted for the week online, where now the teachers have the specific day and time. I will be posting that online as well. We were selected, which is so exciting, really not, to have a Title III focused desk review. So I'm working on that with our EL teachers and Christy, and pulling together the information that is required by January 25th. They are just essentially looking at, are we spending our Title III funding in the manner that it is intended to be spent? So I have to provide schedules and student schedules and teacher schedules and all kinds of fun things. So we're working on that. And then community education, continuing to work through arranging an online catalog registration payment system. I've run into a couple little hurdles, so we're working through those for future offerings, and then planning for a February course activity listing, which will come out in January, early January. So lots of irons in the fire there, but fun work.
Good.
Yep.
Are there any questions for Melanie? Any questions? Hearing none, thank you, Melanie. Move on to number 10, discussion items. Nothing there?
None.
Okay. Move on to number 11, board action. 11.1, resolution approving the gifts to the school. We have two gifts, one from First Bank and Trust donation of $200 to the high school choir for holiday open house, and the second one, Christ the King Lutheran Church donation of $100 to the wellness room for a total of $300 to the district. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor to approve the resolution approving the gifts to the school signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion passes. Move on to 11.2, resolution establishing combined polling places for multiple precincts and designating hours during which the polling place will remain open for voting for school district elections not held on a day of a statewide election.
We do not have any elections slated, but we need to do this in December every year. If you just keep renewing your polling place, all you have to do is this. I can't remember now what all the hoops were, but we just want to do this every year.
Yeah, we have to do it every year by December 31st because the law requires it. Especially if you want to combine a polling place. And that combined polling place must be the place that like the city or county has theirs, so that's why it's safe.
If we didn't do it, when we do have an election, there's just a lot more things we have to do, and so it's just easier. Even though we don't have an election, just do this here and say this is where we're doing things, and then we just renew it every year, so.
Okay.
That's my best explanation.
Are there any questions or discussion?
I'm just going to move to approve the resolution establishing combined polling places for multiple precincts and designating hours during which the polling place will remain open for voting for school district elections not held on a day of a statewide election.
Second.
Perfect.
Did you get that? Chrissy? Okay. All those in favor of approving the resolution establishing combined polling places signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion passes. 11.3, approve policy 534, school meals policy.
This one came up last month. The Attorney General of Minnesota handed down a ruling that an alternative lunch was not an option in any meal policy. We do have it in our policy that the principals have the authority to say that you can have an alternative lunch. We've never enforced that, we've never done that, but it is in the policy, but we do need to remove that. So this policy just updates without that portion in there, so.
Okay. Any questions? Any questions? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve policy 534, school meals policy?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor to approve policy 534, school meals policy, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion passes. 11.4, approve policy 606, textbooks and instructional materials.
This was brought to my attention with the library change in structure and us having no longer shared library. They had a policy on removal of books from the library and a process. So now that we're on our own, we'll need this policy, even though it says selection of textbooks and instructional materials. It also covers libraries if there were to be a question on a library book and where things are at, or textbook or anything. So we have not had this policy, but I felt like we should put this one in place for this. So that's why we didn't have policy committee. I just thought, well, we got a couple here that we need to get, and we're not going to do multiple readings on them. So, but would recommend we have this policy in place too.
Are there any questions? Any questions? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve policy 606?
So moved.
Second.
Did you get both of them, Deb? Okay. All those in favor to approve policy 606, textbooks and instructional materials, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion passes. 11.5, adopt levy limitation and certification 2022 payable 2023. Any questions? Any questions? This one, we need a specific dollar amount.
Yeah, and I thought, well, yeah, there it is. Yeah. So our total proposed levy is, gosh, I gotta blow this up a little bit.
I was saying, you read it either. Oh, yeah.
Let me do this just to make sure. All right, 20, pay 23. The total proposed levy is $3,562,969.66 is what the proposed pay 23 levy amount is.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve that levy dollar amount?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Got everything you need then, Deb? Okay. All those in favor to approve the adoption of the levy limitation and certification 2022 payable 2023, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion passes. 11.6.
You all know Lance had an accident at the farm and injured his leg pretty severely. If you haven't talked to him, he's doing okay, but he's feeling pretty happy to still be with us here. It was a pretty significant injury, and he is going to be rehabbing for a while. So he would like to take a temporary leave of absence from the school board while he recovers, and we checked with MSBA, and there's a resolution that the school board can declare that there's a vacancy that for a period of time, and then when he is ready to come back, he will write a letter and notify us that he's ready to return. So, and the school board can name a replacement in that process. But right now, we're looking at a resolution declaring the school board vacancy, and then we thought on January 9th, we would name the replacement at that time. So that's what MSBA recommended we do. So what we have here is the resolution declaring the school board vacancy due to the time for Lance to recuperate. So he was thinking 3 months, but maybe 4. I think he wants to just kind of see where things are at.
Play it by ear.
Yeah.
Okay, do we need to read this resolution? Okay.
All right.
You want to read it, Kevin?
I can. All right. Whereas school board member Lance Oy has provided notification of his inability to serve as a member of the school board and attend meetings due to a prolonged absence from the school district effective on December 19th, 2022, and Whereas pursuant to Minnesota Statute 123B.09 Subdivision 4, a vacancy caused by a member being unable to serve on such the school board and attend its meetings for not less than 90 days because of a prolonged absence from the district may, after the school board has by resolution declared such vacancy to exist, be filled by the board at any regular or special meeting thereof for the remainder of the unexpired term or until such absent member is again able to resume duties as a member of such board, whichever date is earliest. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the School Board of Independent School District Number 2689, State of Minnesota as follows. Effective December 19, 2022, the school board hereby declares that a vacancy exists on the school board pursuant to Minnesota Statute 123B.09 Subdivision 4.
Okay. Any questions? Any questions? Can I have a motion to approve the resolution declaring a school board vacancy?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor to approve the resolution declaring a school board vacancy by illness or prolonged absence signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion passes. What?
We're not
So I have a
done.
question though, so how will we decide who, or is this gonna be like you put up names, or, and there'll be a vote, or?
That can be, he's asked that Jeff take his place while he's gone.
Okay.
That's Lance's wish, but the board has to decide who to put in that position, so.
So that's what we do, you put names, okay.
On January 9th, you will fill the position.
Gotcha.
Somebody makes a motion to
Right, okay.
put someone in, or however, if there's gonna be questions, let me know, and then we'll talk with MSBA, but what I understand is that you'll put a name forward and vote on that. And
Okay.
have that person fill that position, so.
Gotcha.
Like I said, Lance has asked that Jeff fill it, but Lance doesn't get to name. It's the board that has to make that decision, so.
Yeah.
And we can do that at our organizational meeting, so.
Okay.
He's also got some requests for committees. I don't know if he's got nominations for others, but right now, he doesn't need to worry about that. We can just let him rest his heel. I just said, okay, Lance, so.
Okay, then I just need motions for adjournment.
No, I got one other thing here. I've got recognition. Amy, this is your last board meeting, so in appreciation for your dedication and serving the school district, we have this plaque and thanking you for being on the school board.
It's
So,
been a pleasure.
yeah,
Thank you.
And Jeff, this is your last board meeting. We have you serving 16 years, multiple years of service in here, but thank you for your commitment and dedication to the school district and our students. So thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
And following, we have cider and some cookies, and we'll just have a little social in honor of Amy and Jeff and serving the school district, so. There, wasn't on the agenda, but.
No.
Got it in.
Well, for me, it's been a joy. I mean, I've had a lot of fun doing this. I've had a number of different people to work with, and I really can't say
Who your
that
favorite is?
I've hated it. I have really enjoyed it. And everybody, it's been great people to work with on the board. Administrators have been great to work with. Pipestone's got a lot going for it.
It does.
Between staff and administration and a dedicated board. And you've got the public that really has stepped up to supply our students with top-notch facility. Kudos to all of them. Thank you. Okay?
I second that. Good job, Amy.
Your last second.
Then I need a motion to adjourn. Amy,
So moved.
do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion passes. Meeting adjourned.